Phoenix here, and today we're going to be doing the pickup video for the month of January of 2017. And so far, it has been a really good month for games. I mean, there's just so much of them that come out this month, it's pretty crazy. But at the same time, it's also been a crazy for like my personal life, but I'm not going to get too much into that there. But either way though, just to get some things out of the way first of all, before I talk about the like the games that I got, is I'm not gonna do the shout out segment for this month of for January's pickups video. Just for this one there. I might do it in the February there, but we'll have to see there. And also, just as a reminder, in case like you're new here or if you're not new here, is that in the description of this video, or in like pretty much all my videos, I always have a list of channels that have, like, channels that I really like a lot and ones that I think are definitely like worth checking out because they are relatively small for the most part. At least a good portion of them are. So in case like you haven't looked in the description of any of my videos, I do want to just say that, like there's some really good channels in there that I think I can definitely recommend. So, in case you haven't checked them out, I can definitely say that, check the description box of like pretty much most of my recent stuffs, and you'll see like a shitload of channels in there. But one last thing I do want to mention here before we continue on is that if you also do check the description, I also do post shortcuts for like just my pickup videos and such, because I know my pickups do get kind of long, and the reason why they are kind of long is either because, it's either I pick up like a bunch of games at once, or, the fact that I talk about all the games, and, I'd rather it be that way, because, I'm not gonna, like, do that stupid grocery list style videos, because I just don't like doing that. And because of that, I'll put shortcuts in the description, so, for anyone that wants to see, like, a specific system, or hear about, like, games I got for that system, they can just go down to that section, just look for, like, those specific parts, or, they can just continue watching from there if they just want to take a break, since, I can understand not watching the whole thing out all at once. But, anyways, that's all I just want to say, just for a reminder, because I know the channel has been growing quite a bit since, like, December, which is actually pretty crazy to think about, and, I'm really thankful for that. So, now, let's begin the pickups. Alright, so the first game I'm going to be talking about here is some DS and 3DS games, but the first one here is a 3DS game that just came out this month, and that is, Dragon Quest VIII, Journey of the Cursed King. And this game is pretty fucking awesome from what I've played a bit, although I've barely scratched the surface on this one there. I just played a little bit about the beginning and that was it. But I have played a good portion of the PS2 version, and man, that game is just so fucking awesome. I loved it a whole bunch. Basically, it's a turn-based RPG, as to be expected from, a Dragon Quest game, and of course, it has like some really funny-ass, like, lighthearted humor, and then it has some really good characters, really good adventure, exploration. There's like a shitload of things to do in this game, and it's just a really big, epic, long game for that. And of course, with that said, that's why I haven't really got a whole lot of time into it, but, like I said though, I mostly have played the PS2 one though, but just from what I have played of this version, it does seem like a really good improvement upon it. Like, they got rid of the random encounters, and now that they have the, like, you can see, like, all the enemies in the field, and you can choose to fight them or not, it's always nice, so, it is actually a really good upgrade to that. And the last DS game that I got here is a pretty big one, and that happens to be Castlevania Portrait of Ruin. And I never played this game until very recently, and all I have to say is that this game is fucking awesome as shit, man. Like, oh man, like, basically, if you like the Metroidvania style games with, like, like the exploration and the secrets and whatnot, this one is exactly that, which is fucking awesome. And of course, one thing that is really cool about this one is that you can play as two characters, and you can switch between them, or you can use them both at, like, the same time. So, you have Jonathan, who uses a whip, but of course he can also use, like, a lot of, like, the heavier weapons and such. Like, I actually found, like, a huge-ass sword, which is pretty awesome. And then you have Charlotte, who uses a book, and she can use, like, magical spells, and at the same time she can also hit people for book. Kind of like that one game I'm doing a stream on, Shadow Hearts, eh? Yeah, thought that was kind of amusing, but either way, though, this is actually just a really fucking awesome game, and it's unfortunate I never actually played much of the handheld ones until, like, just recently, because the only other one that I have played was Dawn of Sorrows, which is a really good game, even though I did find the boss battles were a little bit too gimmicky, but this one is pretty much a lot like that, but I would say it's actually even better, because the boss battles in this one are not gimmicky at all, so yeah, I can definitely recommend this game in case you haven't played this one. So next up, we're going to be talking about the Xbox stuff, and this is actually the only original Xbox game that I got, and this one happens to be Legacy of Kain Defiance, and unfortunately this is the last game that they made in the series, which kind of sucks, but yeah, I've only played 2 of these games, and that happens to be this one and Soul Reaver on PS1, and from what I have played of this one, I only played just the beginning part of it, and just from that I can already tell this game is going to be a blast, since man, there's just like I really love the battle system in this game. It's just good old hack and slash, and you can also like throw people up in the air, do some like massive amount of combos, and then you can also do some like magic attacks and just like throw people and shit. And there's just a lot of really good stuff. And the graphics are really fucking good too. Like man, like I was playing this on my original Xbox on like I'm not even using like a flat screen TV where it's hooked up, so it already looks fucking good from that. So. Yeah, definitely a really fucking awesome game that I can definitely recommend in case you haven't. So the next game is on the 360, and that happens to be Enchanted Arms. And for a long while, I've actually heard about this game. I've always heard mixed things about it though. But the one thing that kind of made me interested in wanting to try it was that it was actually a game that came from Software. So because of that, I was like, oh well, this could be interesting. I don't know why I never heard about that, but. Yeah, so far I haven't actually played this one, but it's basically a RPG of some sort. It kind of seems like an action RPG, but I'm not entirely sure. I haven't looked too much into it though, but one thing I do know is that this game does have some really bad voice acting, which is fucking hilarious, so I am going to get some enjoyment out of that. But yeah, so far I can't say a whole lot about it, but like I said, I've heard some mixed things, so even if I don't end up liking it much, I only paid like $5 for it, so not a big deal there. And also, this is actually going to be a game I would actually like to do a review on at some point, just, once I actually get in there. And the next game is quite possibly one of the most ridiculous games that I've gotten this month, and that happens to be Dead or Alive Extreme 2. I just had to get this, because not only was it, like, super cheap, but at the same time, I was like, you know what, fuck it, why not? Like, I have a feeling I'll get some enjoyment out of this, because it's basically just a bunch of mini-games, and then, you get money from it, and then, like, what you do with the money is that you buy, like, the girls, like, like, gifts, or you buy them new outfits, and, blah, blah, yeah, all that kind of, like, stupid, crazy shit, but, yeah, I pretty much just got this, mostly for the lulz, and also, I do like the Dead or Alive fighting series, and I've never actually played the extreme ones before, but I have a feeling I'd just, it'd make for a really good laugh. Alright, so the next 360 game, and also the last one, is one that I haven't even opened yet, and that happens to be Dark Souls 1, the one that revamped everything from Demon Souls, and obviously I haven't played it because, it still has a seal on and everything, and yes, I do plan on opening this when I do get around to it, but yeah, I've just been loving the hell out of Dark Souls 3, so maybe whenever I'm done with that game, I'll probably go back to this one. Although I really did want to get it on PS3, but didn't have any, so I just figured I'm also settled with this one. But so the next few games right here are going to be on the PS4. So this first one right here is Darksiders War Master Edition, which is basically the remastered version of Darksiders 1. And I haven't played this version yet, but, I have played the original on PS3, and, man, that game was actually pretty fucking fun, but unfortunately, I remember I got stuck somewhere, and then after that, I kind of just said, fuck it, went to, like, another game, and then I kind of just never went back to it, but, yeah, this is actually, would be a perfect time to actually, like, get into this one whenever I can, but, yeah, basically it's a hack and slash with some, like, puzzle elements to it. A lot of people compare this game to Zelda, and at first I wasn't really sure if I'd fully agree with that, but I guess thinking back on it now, I guess it kind of makes sense, but either way, it's just a really badass fucking game, and of course I really love the main character. He just looks fucking awesome as shit. Alright, so the next game we got here is Yakuza 0, which is actually a game I'm very surprised we even got over here, because for a long while Sega was pretty much thinking like, oh, those North American people, they hate the Yakuza games, they all think they just suck, when, they really are not at all. They're fucking awesome as shit. Where basically, it's a beat-em-up game, but there's also a lot of, like, exploration, lots of, like, there's some RPG elements thrown into it there, and of course lots of story, cutscenes. There's just a whole lot of really good shit involved, and, if you beat the game in this game, because apparently from what a friend of mine told me is that if you beat it, it only gives you, like, 12%, so it's like, holy shit, that's a lot of content. So, yeah, that this game is going to be a big time sink, so I am going to play this one whenever I can, and also because it's called Yakuza 0, meaning that it's a prequel to the entire series. So even if you haven't played any of the games, I would at least recommend playing this one out first, because, you know, at least the story won't get, like, confusing at all, because I started out playing the game with 2, and then I played 3, and it was a little bit confusing, but for the most part I was able to understand some of it there. But, yeah, this is just a really awesome series. It's pretty much a lot like a mixture between Shenmue and River City Ransom, if I say so myself. And with that said, that's pretty fucking dope. And the next one here is Fate Extella, the Umbral Star. I think I said that right. Well, either way, this is a game that is based after the Fate series, you know, like Fate's Day Night or Fate Zero, all that kind of stuff. And, you know, I'm a huge fan of that series, so of course when they make a game out of it that comes out over here, I was like, okay, I'm interested. And the other thing that made me interested for me is that it's a big old hack and slash game, kind of like the Dynasty Warrior game. So, you know, I was like, oh, okay, wow, that looks pretty fucking awesome. And I do really enjoy this one quite a bit from what I've played, but unfortunately, one thing I do have a complaint with is that because this game requires you to take over different bases and such, I do find that, like, there's a lot of back and forth and backtracking and shit, because if you do, like, leave, like, certain bases alone, they'll eventually get taken over and shit, which just gets annoying and makes the missions much more longer than they need to be, especially the fact of how you take over the bases is that you gotta defeat, like, those, they're not really bosses, but they're just, like, bigger enemies, and they're just kind of annoying to fight, and also at the same time, they just take a while to spawn, which, you know, just makes it even longer. But other than that, though, I really do enjoy it quite a lot. Also, the story in it's really cool and all that kind of stuff, but, you know, that's to be expected from someone who's a fan of the series. But yeah, either way, though, I think this is actually a pretty good game if I say so myself, but of course it's not going to be for everyone. But if you do like Dynasty Warrior style games, then yes, I think you will at least enjoy this one. And the next game we got over here is one that I also haven't really played yet, and that is Exist Archive. And one of the main reasons why I wanted to get this one is because it's actually a spiritual successor to Valkyrie Profile, which is a fucking awesome series. So with that said, I was like, okay, well, that's 100% interest for me. And unfortunately, I just have yet to play it. In fact, it's actually still in the plastic and everything. But I originally wanted to get this on the Vita, but unfortunately, my store didn't have a copy of it, of course. So, you know, they had it on PS4, so I was like, okay, this will do for now. But yeah, this is actually one game I just really can't wait to get into. I just haven't yet, because I've just been playing so many other stuff lately and all that. But yeah, just from what I can tell from this game, it definitely does look like a really fucking good game. Alright, so now as for the last two games we got here, one of them is on PS4, and the other one is on the Vita, but I gotta explain something first, is that these games were actually not bought from me. These games were actually done through a trade that I did with a good friend of mine on YouTube named Flutes900. So, you know, I've actually done some video collaborations with him. I've also done another trade with him like one time last year, and you know, he with me and him have always just been like really good friends for a while there, and you know, he's just a really awesome guy. But either way, though, so just to talk about a little bit about the games that he did a trade with me there. The first game here is Wild Guns Reloaded, which, by the way, if you do want to like get a physical copy of the game, it's only online only, and because I can't like order stuff online all the time, he ended up helping me out with this. So, you know, as again, I'm really thankful for that, dude. Like, you're awesome. So, anyways, as for the game itself, this is basically a remake of the original game on Super Nintendo, and by the way, the original version of this game is really fucking expensive, so if you do get this game, whether you get a physical copy or if you get it on PSN, you're going to be saving money, because also, not only is this game, like, really cheaper, but, like, a whole lot cheaper, but also the game is actually improved a lot more with, like, the controls and such. But yeah, this is just a really awesome, like, 2D, like, kind of like shooting gallery sort of game where, you know, you can pick between four characters that are, like, really over the top. You know, you got, like a cowboy guy, you got, like, a cowgirl, then you got, like, a dog on, like, a spaceship, and then you got some, like, big, like, muscular chick. It's just pretty, like, crazy shit. And, of course, this game's just really crazy in general, but, man, this game is so fun, but goddamn is it so fucking hard, too. I can only imagine that this game playing with 4 players would be like a hell of a good time. In fact, this game actually does have online co-op, so if there's anyone out there that does also own this game and you do want to play it with me, then hey, that'd be for a good time. I'm totally down with that. But yeah, this is one game that's just really fucking awesome. Alright, so now as for the last game that he got from me, this one is on the Vita, and that happens to be Root Letter, or, you know, on the side it says checkmark letter, but, you know, they mean that as in, like, square root, which is kind of weird, but yeah, the game is actually called Root Letter, and I've been playing this one quite a lot, actually, and all I have to say is that this game is surprisingly really fucking good, at least for someone like me anyways, because in case you don't know what type of game this is a visual novel slash, like, point-and-click adventure, and, you know, like, I'm not, like, the biggest visual novel fan, like, there's only, like, very few that I like, and this one, I would actually consider to be one of those very few, because, goddamn, I've been really loving the story in this game. And to sum up the story in this one, without giving away too much detail about it, is that basically you play as like a 30-year-old guy who's just, you know, looking through some of like letters and stuff, and he ends up finding a whole bunch of like pen pal letters that he had from like 15 years ago, and he was doing like a pen pal thing with this one girl that, you know, he never met in person before. That's, you know, that's the point of a pen pal for anyone that remembers that kind of stuff. And basically, when he opens up one of the letters, it says, "I killed someone." And so he's all like, "Oh shit, what the fuck, man?" So then he ends up going to the, you know, the area to where she was from, and since now that he's older and he can travel and shit, so he ends up, like, going there, asking people about, like, do you know, this, like, a Yumi chick or something like that, so... Yeah, it's really interesting, and because of that, you know, that's important for a visual novel, is that it has to drag you into it, and this game definitely has me hooked, so... Yeah, I haven't beaten it just yet, though, but from what I have played of it, I am really enjoying the story, really good music, really good visuals, and also you can get it on PS4 as well. But I think getting, like, a visual novel on a console is a little bit overkill. Like, I think getting them on the handheld just works a lot better, but that's just my personal opinion. Alright, so that is all the games that I got for January of 2017, and I almost just said 2016 in my head, but it didn't happen. But yeah, I always get mixed up with that from the beginning of the year. But anyways, though, so as again, I just want to say thank you to Floops100. You're an awesome dude, and of course, you know, hopefully we can do more of these in the future. And also, I just want to say that this beginning of the year so far, like for when it comes to games, there's just so much coming out right now. It almost feels like another fall, because it always seems like good games come out in the fall, which is true, but it almost feels like fall again. But only that, you know, it's much more fucking colder. But anyways, with all that aside, thank you very much for watching and commenting, and hopefully you all have a great day.